We have looked at finding slope using a graph, which is just using our definition of slope, and we have looked at slope using the slope formula. We are now going to look at examples in your booklet on page 8 that kind of lead us through both of those things. Remember, you are going to watch, you are going to listen, and you are going to take notes. So our directions here determine the slope of each line. Classify the slope as positive, negative, 0, or undefined. We're going to start with our first example here, and I can actually look at this and classify before I find my slope. This one is definitely positive because it is rising from left to right. Now I was nice to you and gave you 2 of our good points, so I can draw in my rise over run and then count. Remember, our slope is rise over run. So it's our change in the y going up and down over the change in the x going left and right. So counting from 0, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this distance here is 4. This distance here is 5. So my slope is 4 over 5. It is positive, which it should be, since my line is rising from left to right. In example 2, my line is decreasing from left to right. It's going down from left to right. So my slope is definitely negative. Again, I've got 2 points. Actually, I don't have 2 points labeled for us here. That one's right on a grid, and that one's right on a grid. Remember, we want to look for where we are crossing at perfect integers so that we can count precisely. So again, I'm going to draw in my little rise over run triangle, and I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3. So my slope is going to start with a rise of negative 3. I went down, and then I'm going to go to the left 1, 2. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to the right 1, 2. So that'll be a positive 2. So my slope is a negative 3/2. If you choose different points to count from, you might end up with 3 over negative 2 instead. It's okay. You can do 3 over negative 2, negative 3 over 2, or a negative out to the front with 3 over 2. Any of those is the same answer, negative 3/2. Moving on to example 3. Now I can look at this one and I can see my slope is 0 because it's a horizontal line. So I don't even need to count anything out. It's 0. Moving along. On the last 3 examples, we won't just be able to look at it and see whether it's positive or negative because we don't have the graph. When we don't have the graph, we need to use our slope formula. So m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Our points, x sub 1, y sub 1, negative 2, 9, and 1, 3. So I'm going to do 3 minus 9 over 1 minus a negative 2. And let me label those just so you make sure you understand where it's coming from. That's my x1, y1. That's my x2, y2. So y2 minus y1 is 3 minus 9. x2 minus x1 is 1 minus a negative 2. Doing my arithmetic, I get negative 6 over, remember to change this to plus a positive, 3, which is negative 2. So my slope is negative. This line will be going down from left to right. My actual slope is negative 2. Continuing along to our next example. Again, we need to use our slope formula because I'm given 2 points. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 this is my x1 y1, this is my x2 y2. So I'm going to do 4 minus 1 over 4 minus 0. 4 minus 1 over 4 minus 0. So that's a positive 3/4. Our final example. Do you notice that my x values are the same here? That means it's going to be one of my two special cases. So here's my x1, y1. Here's my x2, y2. Again, I'm using my slope formula. Change in y over change in x. So I'm going to do 3 minus 7 over negative 4 minus negative 4. 3 minus 7 is negative 4. Signs are different, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger. Changing that to plus a positive, I get negative 4 plus 4 is 0. And remember, you can never have 0 in the denominator. So this slope is undefined. Your answer here is undefined. You're not going to put negative 4 over 0 as your answer. You need to recognize that that is undefined. And again, an undefined slope will be a vertical line. Okay, you're going to do some more practice finding slope using graphs and using your slope formula. Pay attention to your formula, pay attention to where you're putting your values. Good luck.